Round 7 of the 2023 DTRA UK Flat Track Nationals, presented by Royal Enfield from the Greenfield dirt track. The season ends where it started, with a second visit to the Oval. 2 medal rankings to settle this afternoon, but the title itself is already decided, so this is something of an end-of-season party, but the return of 2 former national champions means there should be plenty of great action nonetheless. 2018 champion Toby Hales and 2019 champion Gerard Bilo are back, and both line up here in Heat 1. The number 17 Bilo off the inside. Gate 2, the number 23 Toby Hales, Charlie Kelly and Kevin Kennedy completing the front row. Adam James, Mark Richardson, Fergus Bluff and Simon Bird from the middle. Mike Goodfellow, Danny Williams, Scott Faulkner and Sam Neville complete the field. A long hold here before the lights go out, but certainly a jump start there for both Mike Goodfellow and Scott Faulkner from the back row of the grid. It's Gerard Bilo and Toby Hales who went side by side into turn 1, but it's Bilo who holds firm coming off that second bend. Hales then in second position, Charlie Kelly an early third place, Kevin Kennedy a little bit off the line there on 3 and 4, under pressure for the last of those transfer spots to the semi-final. Top 4 march on, the rest will go to the eliminator heats 4 and 5. So Kevin Kennedy defending against Mike Goodfellow. Fast starter from the inside of that back row of the grid, but Goodfellow now beginning to drop back. Both Fergus Bluff and Adam James have got through on him by the end of the second lap, and Fergus Bluff then a little bit wide coming off the second turn, under pressure for 5th position, and James drills his move through. Bluff now with the cutback coming off the pits turn, but these two scrapping with one another is allowing Kevin Kennedy to settle into his rhythm, and he currently occupies that vital 4th position. The race lead, and comfortably so, is with Gerard Bilo. Toby Hales and Charlie Kelly with 6th and 7th in qualifying. Little to choose between the two of them as we head past half race distance. It's Kevin Kennedy who sits in 4th place. Fergus Bluff getting through on Adam James. Now tries the inside line coming off the second turn, but he has to back out of it, and that allows Adam James now through for 5th place. So Fergus Bluff dropping back to 6th. 2 riders buzzing all over the tail of Kevin Kennedy, trying to find a way past for a transfer spot to the semis, and Adam James has learnt from Fergus Bluff's efforts a lap ago. He goes for the cutback coming off the second bend. Bilo wins it. Second over the line will be Toby Hales, only just ahead of Charlie Kelly, and the train of 4 riders is led to the line by Kevin Kennedy, just about ahead of Adam James and then Fergus Bluff. Gerard Bilo with a good job well done coming off the second turn on the opening lap. He was never really troubled from there. The action was for 4th position, but Kevin Kennedy capitalising on that front row grid slot. Was only 1 place ahead of Adam James in qualifying, in 12th and 13th positions, and little to choose between them there. But Adam James losing 2 places to Fergus Bluff and Mike Goodfellow in the early stages. He just runs out of time to try and get his way into the top 4 and those semi-finals. Can confirm the disqualification of Mike Goodfellow. Looks as though Scott Faulkner's got away with his jump start, but Mike Goodfellow is disqualified. Either way, he will have to go again in those elimination races. Your qualifiers from Heat 1, Gerard Bilo, Toby Hales, Charlie Kelly and Kevin Kennedy. On now to Heat 2, and the top 2 in the championship lineup here. Gary Birtwistle on the number 1. Winner in 4 of the 5 rounds this season so far. Has an unassailable 32-point championship lead. But Jack Bell's grip on silver looks decidedly less firm. 3 points ahead of Alan Birtwistle and only 6 ahead of Rob Meir. The latter 2 lining up for their first rides next time out in Heat 3. Heat 2, it's Gary Birtwistle, second to Gerard Bilo in qualifying, who goes off the pole. Jack Bell, P5, goes off gate 2. Freddie Trott Jr. and Jake Eady completing the front row. Jordan Miller, Gilles Linknecht, Tim Gregg and Sam Shook on the middle row. Jacob James, Alan Mickle, Chris Pugh and Frederick Kolderhofer complete your field. Just waiting for Gilles Linknecht to settle in, the Dutchman. Used to seeing him on vintage machinery. In fact, he won 2 rounds in the 4-stroke category last season. He was a very creditable 17th in qualifying for this Nationals round this afternoon. So we'll see what he can do here on what is a competitive middle row. On the inside of him, he's got Jordan Miller in his first appearance since Peterborough in May. And on the outside, Tim Gregg, who scored points in every round this season so far. Thumbs up from the marshal. Looks as though we are ready to go this time with heat number 2. They're under starters orders once again. Second race of the afternoon here at the Greenfield TT, and another long hold, and for my money Jake Eady was creeping before the lights went out. Eadie trying to go 3 abreast around the outside on turns 1 and 2 here. Will be picked off for 3rd position down the back straight by Freddie Trott Jr. Eadie back to the outside on the pits turn, but Freddie Trott moves past him. So at the end of the opening lap, it's Gary Birtwistle who leads from Jack Bell in 2nd, Freddie Trott Jr. in 3rd, Jake Eadie in 4th position. Now, we saw last time out, Mike Goodfellow made a jump start off the back row of the grid and he was disqualified. If the same fate befalls Jake Eadie, it's Tim Gregg who could be promoted for a qualifying berth to the semi-finals. So this race for 5th position could yet be important. Gilles Linknecht getting through on the inside of Sam Shook there for 6th position. Shook was embattled against Tim Gregg in the early stages. Gregg next in Linknecht's crosshairs for what could be a transfer spot. Jordan Miller now through on Sam Shook as well. So disappointing for Shook, who made a good start on the outside of the middle row, as he's relegated back now to 8th position. Tim Gregg, though, under siege here from Gilles Linknecht, who goes all the way around the outside of him on turns 3 and 4. Gregg back to the inside into turn 1, but Linknecht's got a decent line around the middle of the track here and comes through for 5th position. Really strong ride there from Gilles Linknecht to go all the way around the outside of Tim Gregg, and we'll wait the referee's verdict on Jake Eadie. But in the case of a disqualification for the 999, it will be Gilles Linknecht next in line to transfer to the semi-final stages. Doesn't look as though Tim Gregg's got time to get back on terms. Gary Birtwistle wins it, Jack Bell 2nd, Freddie Trott Jr. 3rd, Jake Eadie gets 4th position ahead of Linknecht, Gregg and Miller. But we wait for the verdict on Jake Eadie, who looked to be creeping on the outside of the front row before the race was officially underway. And I can confirm that Jake Eadie has been disqualified from Heat 2. So consistency from the referee who disqualified Mike Goodfellow first time out. And Jake Eadie suffers the same fate in Heat 2. That means that Gilles Linknecht marches on after his successive passes on Sam Shook and Tim Gregg. He proves the star of the show in Heat 2. Gary Birtwistle, Jack Bell, Freddie Trott and Gilles Linknecht, your qualifiers. Heat 3 with all eyes on Rob Meir and Alan Birtwistle. Birtwistle currently 3rd in the championship through his consistency, but he has just 1 podium to his name. Meir with 4 podiums, set to gain 11 points on Birtwistle through the drop round regulation. So on net scoring, Meir is only 2 points behind Jack Bell for 2nd overall, and Alan Birtwistle needs a big day in order to make the championship podium. Meir and Birtwistle, 3rd and 4th in qualifying, go off the inside here, the number 500 and the number 30. The 171 Conrad Little just settling into position, goes off gate 3, and Neil McQueen, the number 7, completes the front row of the grid. Middle row, Chris Jenner, Ashton Vale, Thomas Hunt and Richard Japan. The back row, George Sturgis, Rob Mearsman, Chris Francis and Jamie Kimber. Bit of confusion initially with Ashton Vale trying to jump onto the front row, but it looks as though they're now ready to go and they're under starters orders. 4 of the top 8 in the championship here for heat number 3, which gets underway, and the normally fast starting Rob Meir has been out-dragged to turn 1 by the electric bike. Alan Birtwistle is the first away, the number 30. Meir trying to squeeze down the inside of the back straight, but Alan Birtwistle holds firm to lead them at the end of lap number 1. Little and McQueen behind. Meir down the inside at the start of the second lap. Alan Birtwistle left the door wide open, and Meir has covered the line really well coming off turn 2. So Birtwistle couldn't square it off and recover down the back straight. It's Rob Meir who leads, Birtwistle in 2nd position, a Little in 3rd and Neil McQueen in 4th. So the top 4 seeds just as they qualified on the front row of the grid. And Alan Birtwistle trying to get back on terms here with Rob Meir for top spot in this heat number 3. And directly behind, looks as though Ashton Vale is beginning to close on Neil McQueen from 5th position, so we could yet have a race for our 4 transfer spots to those semi-final stages. Top 2 have broken well clear. That's Chris Jenner, who's gone down coming off turn 2. So Jenner sat in a creditable 6th position, but has fallen coming off the 2nd turn. Race is able to continue with Rob Meir now stretching a bit of an advantage over Alan Birtwistle. Yellow flag still out as they make their way round turns 1 and 2, with Chris Jenner on the edge of the infield. And still it looks as though Ashton Vale is gaining bike lengths here on Neil McQueen. Is there time for Ashton Vale, the 2-2-1, to close down the 7 of Neil McQueen for the last of the transfer spots in 4th? Oh, big lock-up coming off turn 2 for Ashton Vale, and that's going to end his challenge. Race victory then, on one wheel for Rob Meir, 2nd place for Alan Birtwistle, 3rd and 4th for Conrad Little and Neil McQueen. Straightforward in the end. They transfer as they lined up on the front row of the grid. But Ashton Vale putting in a strong ride, having only qualified P21. He was a creditable 5th place there and got through on Chris Jenner early on, only for Chris Jenner then to fall. So Jenner will have to go again in the elimination races. Likewise, Vale, Hunt, Sturgis, Japan, Mearsman, Kimber and Francis. Your 4 qualifiers, the top 4 on the grid there. Rob Meir, Alan Birtwistle, Conrad Little and Neil McQueen. On to the eliminators. Top 6 to the semi-finals, bottom 6 to the consolation final to contest positions 25 to 36 in the meeting classification. Thomas Hunt, the biggest name in this company, 13th in the championship, 8th on day 1 in the Amman Valley, his best result this season so far. And Jordan Miller, 3rd overall just 2 years ago, hoping to rediscover that winning touch. It's the 242 Adam James, the 19 Jordan Miller, the 241 Thomas Hunt and the 86 Sam Shook on the front row. Sturgis, Bird, Williams, Mickle on the middle, Kimber, Pugh, Francis and Goodfellow complete your lineup. We are underway with Heat 4. Not a good start from Jordan Miller. He's going to come under pressure inside and out here. George Sturgis trying to pull alongside him, can't quite get there. And Miller successfully fends off Sam Shook going into turn 3 as well. But they're side by side for the race lead. Thomas Hunt getting all the way around the outside of Adam James, the pole sitter, to lead the way on lap 2. Adam James coming back at him though, coming off turn 2. 2 very different racing lines there on the first 2 turns. And still Adam James trying to squeeze by on the inside of Thomas Hunt. They've been lock level for the majority of this race thus far, but now Adam James just noses in front. Cut back from Thomas Hunt, he has the inside into turn 3. Well, they're switching and changing it up at the front here, providing some great entertainment. Third still with the watching brief for Jordan Miller. Hunt's gone in a little bit too deep perhaps this time into turn 1, and Adam James has the better racing line coming off the second bend to recover that race lead. Great performance this from Adam James, remember in only his 2nd appearance, made the grand final on the TT in June, but this time he's doing it on the oval, ahead of Thomas Hunt in 2nd. He's dropping back into the path of Jordan Miller. 4th position, an isolated 4th place as well for Sam Shook. Last the 2 transfer spots, Simon Bird and George Sturgis knocking spots off one another for 5th position, but they've got a decent margin to 7th place, so they should both be going through to the semi-finals. Look over his left shoulder there, coming off the second bend on this final lap for Adam James. It is going to be the number 242 who will take the checkered flag. Thomas Hunt has seen off the challenge of Jordan Miller behind, but Miller will qualify in 3rd. Then it's Sam Shook in 4th, so the 4 riders on the front row of the grid all moving through, but Thomas Hunt getting the better of Jordan Miller. Both of them finished 6th in their opening rides. Miller with a 6th place in Heat 2, Hunt with a 6th place in Heat 3. Simon Bird and George Sturgis were 5th and 6th seeds to that race. They have both moved on as well. Sturgis ultimately beating by Simon Bird by 0.4 of a second. Mike Goodfellow, though, after his disqualification in Heat 1, had to come from the outside of the back row, and he has failed to make it. He, Alan Mickle, Danny Williams, Jamie Kimber, Chris Francis and Chris Pugh will all go again in the consolation final. The top 6 there move through towards the semi-final stages. Probably the tougher side of the draw for these eliminators still to come as we await the riders for Heat 5. You've got Mark Richardson, already a finalist 3 times this season and 11th in the championship, and Jake Eady in his first appearance since his 4th place at the TT, both coming from the back row of the grid. Eady, remember, was disqualified for a jump start in Heat 2. Mike Goodfellow, also disqualified from his opening ride, was eliminated last time out. But I fancy Eady's chances of making the top 6 here. Remember, he qualified 11th seed. Strong front row as well with the number 10 Tim Gregg and the 221 Ashton Vale, who finished 5th in their heat races, going off the inside. The 56 Fergus Bluff and the 71 Scott Faulkner 6th and 7th in Heat 1 complete the front row. From the middle row of the grid, you've got the 41 Jacob James, the 129 Richard Japan, the 72 Frederick Calderhofer and the 94 Rob Mearsman. Back row, 105 Sam Neville, 18 Mark Richardson, 999 Jake Eady and the 134 Chris Jenner, who crashed out of Heat 3. Richard Japan, the last rider into position. Gate 2 on the middle row for the number 129. And that completes your 12-rider field. They are under starters' orders then for Heat 5. Only 6 qualification berths up for grabs for the semi-final stages. And it's a fast start off the outside of the front row from the 71, Scott Faulkner. Aggressive first turn there from Ashton Vale. Boxes out Fergus Bluff. Bluff's going to lose a couple of places as a result, but Vale carries his momentum around the outside off turn 2 and down the back straight to pass Scott Faulkner. So it's Ashton Vale who leads at the end of the opening lap. Fergus Bluff already back up into 3rd place, has got back through on Rob Mearsman and Tim Gregg. And following around the outside line here, Mark Richardson, great getaway from him from the back row. Jake Eady also cutting his way through, is now up into 6th position. Richardson looking for the outside of Tim Gregg here for 4th place. They go side by side for 2nd, Scott Faulkner and Fergus Bluff as well. Richardson a little bit too deep there off the 2nd bend, and Jake Eady is going to capitalise for 5th position. And Eady might even be able to carry his momentum through here on Tim Gregg. He does so, the 999 up ahead of the number 10 now for 4th place. Richardson in 6th position, under pressure from Jacob James, and number 41, James has got through. Richardson prefers that outside line. It worked for him on the opening 2 laps there, just on the edge of the cushion, but now that James has come through, it's going to be difficult for Richardson to recover a place in the top 6. Top 2 have broken well away. 3rd all the way down to 7th place, contesting 4 transfer spots. Jake Eady getting around the outside of Scott Faulkner there into turn 3 for 3rd position. Should be able to set sail from here on in. Jacob James still defending against Mark Richardson. Richardson with a good run coming off turns 1 and 2 once again. James alongside Tim Gregg now for 5th position. Will this open the door to Mark Richardson for a cutback here coming off the pits turn? Richardson lines it up nice and early, but it can't quite get there in the run to the line, and Tim Gregg holds on for the last of those qualification berths. Frantic final couple of laps there, certainly the more entertaining of the elimination races. Up front, Ashton Vale cutting off Fergus Bluff coming off the 2nd bend and then charging around the outside of Scott Faulkner. He was untroubled from there, but the race really was from 2nd position down. Vale wins it ahead of Fergus Bluff, an isolated 2nd place. Jake Eady getting through on Scott Faulkner, but he too will transfer to the semis. Jacob James at one stage outside of the qualification berths passes Mark Richardson and Tim Gregg, and Gregg just holds on by 0.05 of a second to take the last of those transfer spots to the semi-final stages. On to consolation final, a relatively new addition to the meeting format. A tiebreaker for the bottom 12 in the classification. No championship points up for grabs here, all places in the semi-final stages. Just a bit of pride on the line. From the pole, 7th place in Heat 4, we've got the 181 Mike Goodfellow. Gate 2, that's 149 Chris Pugh. Now, he was 12th in Heat 4, so I'm not quite sure how he's managed to get onto the front row of the grid. It should have been Mark Richardson lining up there, and Pugh on the back row. Completing the front row of the grid, 8th place in their elimination races, Alan Mickle and Rob Mearsman. 9th places in the eliminators, Danny Williams and Frederick Calderhofer. 10th places for Jamie Kimber, Richard Japan. 11th places, Chris Francis and Chris Jenner. Sam Neville off the outside of the back row. No Mark Richardson, so 11 riders only as we get underway with the consolation final. And that's a fast start off Gate 2 from Chris Pugh. And it was a surprise that he was on the front row, even more of a surprise that he's made the fastest start. But it's Mike Goodfellow who cuts his way through to hit the front. Goodfellow, certainly the pre-race favourite, ended up in this one really as a result of his disqualification for a jump start in his opening ride. He couldn't quite get back through in the eliminators into the top 6 and came home 7th position in Heat 4. So it's Goodfellow here who leads the way, but Chris Pugh putting in a good pace here in 2nd position. Alan Mickle holding back the train. He sits in 3rd. Going to the outside of him now is Danny Williams, the 585. Made his way through from the middle row of the grid. Under some pressure now from the number 72, Frederick Calderhofer. Rob Mearsman's been relegated backwards. Next in line is Richard Japan. Still one group really from 3rd position down of 4 riders. As Frederick Calderhofer sits at the back of them. Richard Japan having another go here, coming off turn 4, tries to get his wheels in line nice and early against Danny Williams. That's for 4th position. But it looks as though Mike Goodfellow is going to capitalise on exactly what this race is for and have some consolation as he pulls clear up at the head of the field. Japan's now got through on Danny Williams, and so has Calderhofer. And in fact, Japan's having a go here at Alan Mickle. That's for 3rd place. Is there time to catch Chris Pugh as well for 2nd? Kolderhofer running wide there off at turn 2. Danny Williams not quite close enough to duck back through. He's going to try the cut back off turn 4 for the final time. Kolderhofer going side by side with Mikkel for 4th position. Close finish. We'll wait on the official results from the timing, but first across the line certainly was Mike Goodfellow, and he celebrates down the back straight on one wheel, takes 25th in the meeting classification for victory in the consolation final. Second going to Chris Pugh, Richard Japan 3rd, Frederick Kolderhofer 4th, so does get there against Alan Mikkel, who takes 5th, Danny Williams with 6th. The rest of your finishers: Chris Jenner, Rob Mearsman, Sam Neville, Chris Francis and Jamie Kimber. 11 riders only, with Mark Richardson failing to take the start. Back to the 24 riders who did make it through to the semi-final stages then. We've got 2 great lineups here. The 6 who made it through from their first ride to semi-final 1. The number 17, Gerard Bilo, the winner of Heat 1. Second place is first time out for Jack Bell and Alan Birtwistle. Third place is for Freddie Trott Jr., who completes the front row, and Conrad Little on the inside of the middle row. Fourth place, first time out for Kevin Kennedy. Adam James was 5th behind Kennedy in Heat 1, so a bit of a rematch there. He's qualified via his victory in Heat 4. Also through from the eliminators, Fergus Bluff, who completes the middle row, Jordan Miller, Scott Faulkner, George Sturgis and Tim Gregg. 12 riders, top 5 to the final, last place eliminated. Semi-final 1 gets underway, level break from the front row. Really fast start though from Alan Birtwistle, who again is the first to show. Gerard Bilo pursuing him down the inside of the back straight, can't quite get there, so it's Birtwistle who leads. Side by side for 3rd, Freddie Trott Jr. got away faster than Jack Bell, but Bell now has recaptured that 3rd position. Bit of a gap to 5th place. Conrad Little coming to blows here with Fergus Bluff for the last of those direct transfer spots. Remember, the riders 6th to 11th will go again in the last chance qualifier. Top 2 here will go through to the grand final on the front row of the grid. Gerard Bilo wants to go through as top seed. He's just picked off Alan Birtwistle. It's spread out now in those top 4. Jack Bell not able to stay with Alan Birtwistle, and Freddie Trott Jr. has dropped dramatically back from the top 3. So it's all about your battle now for 5th position. Fergus Bluff holds it. Conrad Little looked like he was going to defend that position in the early stages, but Bluff is now asserting his authority on 5th place, and actually, if anything, it's Adam James beginning to close on Conrad Little now for 6th position. Upworth grid position for the LCQ, unless Fergus Bluff can be halted here by Conrad Little or Adam James. Looks as though Bluff is going to hold on, and Conrad Little drifting further and further away. Actually, Adam James with a late attack here. 1 lap to go for him to try and get through for 6th position. He's building up his attack wide into turn 1. He'll try and go all the way around the outside on 1 and 2. Can't get there. Conrad Little with one last attack on the tail of Fergus Bluff. Bluff realised late that Little was right on his shoulder, but has just about held on, and in turn Conrad Little gets there ahead of Adam James. So a good race there for 5th position between Fergus Bluff and Conrad Little. Bluff just holding on by a few tenths of a second for the last of those direct transfer spots. Conrad Little will have to go again in the LCQ. George Sturgis eliminated, moving through to the grand final. Gerard Bilo, Alan Birtwistle, Jack Bell, Freddie Trott and Fergus Bluff. The second semi-final boasts 2 round 1 winners. Gary Birtwistle on the number 1. The winner of Heat 2 will have pole position here. Alongside him, the number 500, Rob Meir, who took the checkered flag in Heat 3. 2 riders from Heat 1. Toby Hales was 2nd in that one. The number 23 will go off gate 3 here, with Charlie Kelly directly behind him on that occasion. So those 2 will resume their rivalry on the front row here. From the middle row of the grid, 4th in Heat 2, Gilles Lienknecht on the number 278. That was a strong ride from him first time out. And Neil McQueen, who was 4th in Heat 3, the number 7. Qualifying via the eliminators, Ashton Vale, the winner of Heat 5. Thomas Hunt, 2nd in Heat 4. Jake Eady, Sam Shook, Jacob James and Simon Bird complete the lineup. Semi-final number 2, 5 more direct transfer spots up for grabs. Fast start off gate 2 from the number 500, Rob Meir with the whole shot, as Gary Birtwistle looks the inside of him coming off turn 2. Charging hard from the middle row of the grid, Ashton Vale went too deep though off the second bend. Got to respect his effort trying to get all the way around the outside on the first 2 turns. Neil McQueen instead moves through from the middle row to take up the challenge in 5th position. McQueen McQueen, though, under pressure from the recovering Jake Eady. Disqualification in his first ride forced him through the eliminators. He's come from the inside of the back row, and he's now ahead of Neil McQueen in that P5. Last of the direct transfer spots, remember, and the rest, aside from 12th position in this race, will have to go via the last chance qualifier, but there's only 2 qualification spots up for grabs from that one, so if you can, you want to get the job done in the semi-final stages. Jake Eady is doing exactly that as things stand, trying to close down Charlie Kelly now for 4th position, just to improve his grid position for that grand final, because remember, the top 2 will go through on the front row, 3rd and 4th on the second row of the grid, and 5th place here on the back row. Into the penultimate lap, it's Rob Meir who leads the way. Gary Birtwistle still looking for a way through to hit the front, and now he's prizing the door open into the top turn. Great ride that from Gary Birtwistle, would not be denied, and our 2 first ride winners come to blows, and into the final lap it's Gary Birtwistle who reasserts his authority on the meeting and indeed on this second semi-final. So Rob Meir picked off on the penultimate lap. It's Gary Birtwistle who will come home to take the checkered flag. Rob Meir also marching on to the front row of the grid for the grand final. 3rd position goes the way of Toby Hales ahead of Charlie Kelly, both of them moving through on the second row of the grid for the final, and Jake Eady from the back row of the grid takes the last of those direct transfer spots, meaning that the likes of Neil McQueen, who held the position early on, Ashton Vale, who made a bold bid around the outside on the first 2 turns, as well as Gilles Lienknecht, Sam Shook, Jacob James and Thomas Hunt will have to go again in the LCQ. Simon Bird with 12th position there will be eliminated. The highlight of that semi-final too, a great race up front between Gary Birtwistle and Rob Meir, and also a crucial ride from Jake Eady to come through from the back row of the grid to take 5th place. Two grand finalists still to be settled, so it's over to the last chance qualifier. Conrad Little, probably the most surprising name in this one. 3 top 6 finishes to his name this season so far, but his progress to the grand final was denied in semi-final 1 by a strong ride from Fergus Bluff. It's Neil McQueen, the number 7 on the pole. He was 6th in semi-final 2. The 171 Conrad Little alongside him. Waiting for 221 Ashton Vale, he's due off gate 3. Adam James completes the front row, the 242. From the middle row of the grid, we've got the 278 Gilles Lienknecht, the 19 of Jordan Miller, the 86 Sam Shook, and just pulling into position, the 71 Scott Faulkner. Back row of the grid, Jacob James, Kevin Kennedy, Thomas Hunt and Tim Gregg. Looks as though Ashton Vale has missed the start here, so there'll be 11 riders only for the last chance qualifier. Only 2 of them can make the grand final here at Greenfield. We are underway with the LCQ, and a poor start off the outside from Adam James. He was caught napping. First away is the 171 Conrad Little. Neil McQueen pursuing him around the inside, and the top 2 have already begun to break away. Adam James then perhaps with the best chance of making an impression. Down goes Gilles Lienknecht in towards turn number 3, and Lienknecht has not yet moved. Looks to be in some discomfort. The red flags are out. So unsurprisingly there, that was a heavy fall for Gilles Lienknecht, a big high side going into the 3rd turn. Just couldn't get the bike stopped. He was committed to a move down the inside. Watch him here pulling alongside Jordan Miller, coming off the second bend for 5th position. Top 5, remember, scored championship points from this race, and he slides down the inside of Scott Faulkner. Can't quite get the bike stopped, clips the back tyre, and over the high side he goes for a nasty spill for Gilles Lienknecht. And unfortunately, Lienknecht has had to be taken away from the track in an ambulance. Hopefully, these injuries aren't as serious as they first appear, but we've been given the all clear to resume racing with the LCQ. We're down to 10 riders now. McQueen and Little are top 2 seeds to the race. They'd already begun to break away at the time of the stoppage, so this will be a second chance for the likes of Adam James or Jordan Miller to try and make an impression. Again, Scott Faulkner is the last rider into position. Now we are just about ready to go. The 10 remaining contenders for 2 transfer spots to today's grand final via the LCQ. 3rd to 5th positions will score championship points, but will progress no further. Starting Marshall then will settle them in. We are under starters' orders now. 3 riders only on the front row of the grid, 3 only on the middle row of the grid. Long hold once again, but we are now underway. Fast start from Conrad Little. Better jump this time from Adam James. He'll go around the outside of Neil McQueen, coming off turn 2, but McQueen has got the better line and pulls clear. Very wide there off the second bend from Sam Shook on the number 86. That might have ended his hopes of making any further progress. And at the end of lap 1, it's Conrad Little who leads from Neil McQueen in second. Adam James has kept pace with them this time around, and instead of the top 2 breaking away, it's the top 3 who have built a bit of a cushion to the rest of the field. 3 riders then contesting 2 transfer spots. Conrad Little leading, but the door is open and Neil McQueen will capitalise. Side by side then as they come off the second turn, Adam James has just got to keep himself in the mix and hope that McQueen and Little, the 2 riders who finished 6th in their respective semi-finals, will scrap it out and create the opportunity for him to bring himself back into contention. Nice line there into turn 1, a little bit deeper to try the cutback then of turn number 2. The race beginning to settle down in favour of Neil McQueen. Conrad Little, a pre-race favourite, in second place. Adam James still applying the pressure, riding almost up into the bales there to try and extend the circuit going into turn 1. Adam James looking pretty racy here, you'd have to say. Bit of a gap then to the rest of the pack from 4th position down, with Jacob James sitting 4th as things stand. Time ticking, 1 lap to go. 1 spot up for grabs behind the race leader Neil McQueen, and Adam James is almost alongside. Conrad Little going into the 3rd turn. He knows it's now or never, and he bundles his way through, barges his way through, and Adam James is going to the final. Brilliant last lap from Adam James. Jacob James crossing the line in 4th position. Then it's Jordan Miller, Scott Faulkner, Tim Gregg, Sam Shook, Thomas Hunt and Kevin Kennedy wheeling over the line out at the back. But only 2 riders can transfer. Adam James will have known exactly how vital that last lap pass was. He barged his way through, rugby tackled Conrad Little into the 3rd turn, out of the way, and by just over 0.2 of a second, he takes the 12th and last place in today's grand final. A rain-off at Mallory Park in July, but we've had 5 of our 6 planned rounds thus far, including our most recent, a doubleheader at the Amman Valley last month. This is the last race of the 2023 season, our 3rd round at Greenfield and our 2nd on the Oval. Gary Birtwistle won the curtain raiser here in April. He's bidding to close the campaign with his 5th victory of the year. Birtwistle, already crowned back-to-back champion, has nothing riding on this one. But with 4 national champions in the first 5 seeds, this is a bit of a champion of champions race. Birtwistle, fastest semi-final winner, is the 1st seed. Flirted with an outside start on the racing line there, but eventually picks the pole. 2nd seed, the number 17, Gerard Bilo, 2019 champion and reigning world champion. He'll defend that title at the final round in front of our cameras in Morizet in France next weekend. Just 5 points behind Irving Krajcevic before the decider. This is a weekend off for Bilo after 3 rounds in 3 weeks. A battle with Birtwistle. Great way to keep race fit ahead of that decisive trip to France. 3rd seed, the number 500 Rob Meir. The odd man out among the front runners. Still hasn't won a round and still chasing his first national title. He could finish 2nd this season though. He needs to make the podium and beat Jack Bell here. Completing the front row of the grid will be the number 30 Alan Birtwistle, 2016 and 2017 champion. 10 points behind Bell on net scoring this year, 8 behind Meir. So he needs one of those 2 to slip up in order to make the championship podium. 2018 and 2021 champion Toby Hales is the 5th seed. He'll be lining up on the middle row of the grid for the final, looking for his first race win of the day. 6th seed, the number 93 Jack Bell, currently 2nd in this year's standings, where he finished in 2021. 3 second places to his name already this season. For the rest of the field to claim any scouts from that top 6 is a tall order. So far this season, it's only happened when Jack Bell fell here at the TT in June. 7th seed, 35 Charlie Kelly, 4th in semi-final 2. And Freddie Trott Jr., 4th in semi-final 1, will complete the middle row. Riders coming into position now on the back row. The air ambulance still on site for Gilles Lienknecht after his fall in the LCQ. But we have been given the all-clear for racing to continue. 9th seed, the 999 Jake Eady, came via the Eliminator following his first ride jump start, but took 5th in semi-final 2. Fergus Bluff, the 56, also did things the hard way, 2nd in heat 5 before a brilliant ride in the first semi. He's 10th seed. The top 2 from the LCQ, Neil McQueen and Adam James, complete the lineup. the last grand final of 2023. Oh, a little bit of movement before they got underway from Rob Meer. He's penalised himself. It's Alan Birtwistle who's made the fastest start, but he can't quite get across the path of Gary Birtwistle and Gerard Bilo, and it's Bilo who leads them down the back straight. Alan Birtwistle relegated to third. Rob Meer now trying to come through for an end-of-season podium, and he's through for third position at the end of the opening lap. Gary Birtwistle then preferring a tighter line to Gerard Bilo, letting the bike run. He leads them down the back straight. Birtwistle trying to prize his way through for the race lead. Going into the third turn, had his front wheel up over the grass there, but still Gerard Bilo holds firm. And it is the Catalan who leads the way into lap number 3. Gary Birtwistle again tighter than Bilo, coming around turns 1 and 2, but Bilo edges clear, and the gap up at over a bike length for the first time in this race. 6 laps during the heats, 15 in the grand final, so there is still time for Gary Birtwistle to recover. But Gerard Bilo has managed to make the break up at the head of the field. Second place with Gary Birtwistle, third with Rob Meer. Jack Bell, having seen off the attentions of Alan Birtwistle early on, is now set to pursue Rob Meer for that third position, and it's vital in the context of the championship. It's worth second overall, because if Rob Meer takes third here ahead of Jack Bell, he will nick the runner-up ranking in the championship overall. If Jack Bell can get back through on Rob Meer for that third position, then he can hold on to the second position that he defends coming into this final round. We pick up the pair of them, making their way around turns 3 and 4. Rob Meer versus Jack Bell, less than a bike length in it now. Bell moves to the outside, going down the start-finish straight. Rob Meer defending successfully thus far. Bell almost tripping over Rob Meer coming off turn 2. But that gives Meer a bit of breathing room. Bell had to back out of it. So a couple of bike lengths again to defend between Rob Meer in third position and Jack Bell in fourth. Then it's Alan Birtwistle in fifth, becoming a little bit tailed off. Toby Hale's in sixth position, likewise isolated now, ahead of the train of riders from seventh position down. Gap continuing to narrow between Jack Bell and Rob Meer. But time is running out for him to make an impression. Meanwhile, up at the front, Gerard Bilo looks as though he's got this one well and truly under control. Had a wild card from Tom Neve at round number 2. He was third and on the podium. Tim Neve won the TT here as a wild card for round 3. And it looks as though Gerard Bilo is going to do the same at the final round 7. Rob Meer versus Jack Bell. This is all that remains to be settled in the championship as a whole. Rob Meer, if he holds on, will take second overall, will leapfrog Jack Bell, go from 4th to 2nd as a result of the drop round regulation. 3 points behind Alan Birtwistle on paper coming into this round, but Birtwistle, consistency has got him where he is, and that's not particularly helpful once the drop round is brought into play. Jack Bell had a poor round 3 with a fall at the TT, and Rob Meer missed that TT round. He's an oval specialist, a former speedway rider, of course. Jack Bell right on his tail now. This one looks as though it's going to go to the wire. For third position on track, for second in the championship. Again, Jack Bell almost clips the back of Rob Meer coming around turns 1 and 2. And again has to back out of it. Is that all that Rob Meer needed to successfully defend this third place? Bell right on his case, and I think that's going to be the case right to the end of this one. Up front, Gerard Bilo beginning to encounter lap traffic. Jake Eady as he comes into the final lap. Just needs to avoid tripping over him. We remember what happened to Gary Birtwistle here at the TT in round 3. Bilo safely through on last place Jake Eady. Exits turns 3 and 4 for the final time then. Gerard Bilo makes one appearance in the pro class with the DTRA this season, and he wins it. Bilo unbeaten, 3 wins out of 3, takes heat 1, semi-final 1 and the grand final. Gary Birtwistle gave it a really good go, particularly on the opening 3 laps there, but has to give best. Third place goes to Rob Meer. That's for second in the championship. He'll tie with Jack Bell on points after the drop round regulation is taken into consideration. He'll beat him on the tie break, the best result at this final round. So that settles our 2023 campaign and the third of our visits to Greenfield this season. We've had 3 different winners in Lincolnshire in 2023. Gary Birtwistle winning on the oval at round 1 set the tone for his campaign. He's dropped just 8 points all season long and a worthy champion. But this afternoon belongs to Gerard Bilo. Best of luck to him ahead of his pursuit of a second World Championship in a week's time at Morris's in France. But that's all from the 2023 season in the UK. Thank you for watching and goodbye for now.